Well, Graham, thank you very much for the introduction. Thanks to all of you for bearing with us this afternoon as we go through this last part of the agenda on place. Now, many of you will know that Chambers of Commerce actually were founded on the basis of helping to make places better. I've been working with them for 8 years now, and I've summarized their mission in 4 words. Voice, they give a voice to local businesses. Trade, they help them trade the world. They bring them together through membership, and of course they help to make the places where those businesses do business even better. So this session very much at the heart of what it is that Chambers of Commerce exists to do. In many cases they've been doing it for decades or even centuries. So long before organisations like LEPs came on the scene, Chambers were there, and it's good where we've managed to build successful and dynamic partnerships with organisations like LEPs in order to build up those places over time. Roger Marsh was absolutely right in the previous session. This really is about the common goal that we all share, the goal of making those places better, ensuring that they're vital and successful, and ensuring that local people can be as successful as they can be in those business communities. And I think that's the starting point. However, we also have to acknowledge, I think, that in some areas there is a divergence between LEPs and other partners. There are strained relationships in some areas between business communities on the one hand, councils on the other hand, and other partners as well. And we have to recognize that it's not been smooth sailing absolutely everywhere. So as we seek to ensure that all of our places are successful, we have to look at the lessons from those places where those partnerships work like clockwork and work really well. And Graham, you were mentioning a number of those in your opening remarks. And of course, those places where it has been a more difficult route to get to that sort of collaboration. Where can and should we be working together on these questions around place? Well, I think there are 5 areas which are of paramount importance there. The first is around industrial strategy. And it's not necessarily about the detail by sector. It's not necessarily about some of the high-level things you hear in government pronouncements. It's around the simple question of what 2 or 3 changes in my particular place would help to allow businesses to be more successful here. And that is a thing where Chambers of Commerce, other business organizations, local enterprise partnerships all have a common goal. Getting 2 or 3 things into that industrial strategy so that it has a real, appreciable, practical, and on-the-ground difference for those places and their business communities. The second is around planning and land use. Local authorities often love to assure businesses, don't worry, we've got plenty of land for you. Businesses then come to us and say, none of the land the local authorities have is of any use to us. We need a better land supply for employment and industrial uses in our area. And this is a place, again, where I think LEPs, Chambers of Commerce and other partners can come together and say, we need a long-term strategy. We need to ensure that our businesses have the room to go that they required and the fastest possible procedures in order to be able to use that land as well. The third is around the labour market, and we heard a lot about this in the last session. But the specific thing where I think we need to be working together is bringing the supply and the demand together. Businesses have to recognise we're not always the best at saying what our needs are, articulating those needs. But local enterprise partnerships, chambers and others can help to pull that detail out of firms and then try to connect it with the supply of skills, be that individuals who are ready to go into the job market or those who are working their way through the training system. The fourth and obvious one, of course, is transport, where we often share huge amounts of joint work, joint campaigns and goals to get the infrastructure fit for purpose. And the fifth is the other form of infrastructure, and Sherry often likes to talk about this, which of course is our digital and mobile connectivity. I've spent most of my day today revealing the results of a chamber survey where 30% of rural businesses said that they do not have reliable broadband. 20% of all businesses said their broadband wasn't reliable, and of course we've seen today even fines put in place by the regulator for the lack of reliable digital connectivity, very large ones as well. You know, this is the sort of thing where we can all work together in order to make a difference to places, because I guarantee a place with its 2 or 3 top problems solved via industrial strategy, a place with a good supply of employment land, a place where businesses and local authorities are working together to make the labour market better, where transport works and where digital and mobile connectivity work. Those are the places where everyone, whether they're an indigenous business or an international business, are going to want to invest. So that's certainly the areas where we can work together. I do want to mention, however, that there are a couple of points of contention as well, and perhaps this can form some of the basis of discussion for later on in the session. We do hear rather regularly of examples where local enterprise partnerships and the funding that they have available to them seems to crowd out private sector players in certain cases. I hear of events or programs being put on that directly replicate things which are already delivered in the particular area by the private sector. That's got to stop, quite frankly. We should be supporting each other and making sure that every single penny of that taxpayer's money that's coming in is being used to best effect, not duplicating what already exists. The second area of contention, I think, is that in some areas the voice of local authorities and the influence of local authorities is still seen by business communities as being too powerful, indeed overbearing. In some places that's been managed very well through excellent relationships and communication, in others it hasn't. And we do need to acknowledge the fact that for some in the broader business community, LEP seem to be to them an extension of local authorities. We know that's not the case, but we do get that perception rather regularly, and it is important to look at how to change it. The third is something which Martin mentioned in the previous session, which is around the question of transparency and accountability, applying the best standards of corporate governance to local enterprise partnerships, so that if a business has a question, it knows exactly how to get the information that it needs, and of course to seek recourse. And the final one is perhaps the most contentious one, but one where, as a critical friend, I wanted to come and put it forward, which is this misperception in Whitehall that LEPs represent business communities. I don't think that's what local enterprise partnerships are here to do. I don't know if that's what all of you believe you are here to do or not, but it's certainly the case within this square mile that a lot of people think that that's the case. There are a lot of other people out there representing local business communities in their broadest possible sweep. There are great business people on local enterprise partnerships, but LEPs are not there to represent business communities. They're there to bring together and bring together different stakeholders, different sources of money, and act to make those business communities better. I like the way Roger said that they have the glue and the lubricant to bring it all together. I think that's a very important thing to remember. They're not the voice, they're the glue and the lubricant. So some challenges where we have seen issues over time that I did want to raise today. I think I'm being deliberately a little bit challenging this afternoon in order to stimulate conversation and debate. But as someone who is deeply and passionately committed to seeing local business communities succeed all across England, I think it's important to talk about both the positives and the areas where we can do better, so that in future, as we work together, we can truly help every place achieve its potential, which is indeed the destination that we all want to share. Thank you very much for having me here today.
Thank you.